What did we just witness? Everyone will remember where they were when they watched one of the greatest basketball games in history. A country of 6 million people led by the NBA's MVP against a country of 300 million people led by some of the greatest players, not just in the current NBA, but in NBA history. And despite the difference in talent, the quality of basketball was as good as any game you will see internationally or domestically. And one thing we all know about basketball and just sports in general, when the stakes are at their highest, it's the superstars who remind the world why they are superstars. And there was no bigger performance than that of Stephen Curry's. Entering the match against Serbia, these were the top scorers from Team USA during the Olympics. Anthony Edwards, KD, LeBron, Booker, Holiday, and then all the way at 9th on the list, the lowest of any of the starters was Steph Curry, who had struggled not just in the Olympics, but in the exhibition matches as well. It had gotten so bad that I even heard some people suggest Steve Kerr replace him in the starting lineup. Well, thankfully he didn't listen, because if he did, he would have been replaced as the head coach, and Team USA would have been fighting for a bronze medal instead of a gold one. And in fact, if not for Steph Curry, this game would have been finished in the first quarter. No, listen to me, this game would have been done, over, finito, dead and buried, because in the first quarter of this game, Serbia scored 31 points to Team USA's 23, which is already a huge discrepancy in just a 10-minute quarter. But do you know how many points players not named Steph Curry scored in that quarter? 5. 5 points, 1 3-point shot from LeBron James, and 2 free throws, with everyone not named Steph shooting 1 of 7. And this right here is why Team USA are almost impossible to beat, because you can have an amazing first quarter on both ends of the floor, knocking down threes, scoring in the paint, moving the ball, and playing great defense on the other side of the floor. But if just one of Team USA's players gets hot, and if that player happens to be the greatest shooter the game has ever and will ever see, then all of your good work on both ends of the floor can be undone just like that. But there was much more to the game than just the first quarter heroics from Steph, because Serbia didn't stop making shots after that first quarter. In fact, they kept shooting at a ridiculous pace, and I said it in my last Team USA video that the only way you could beat this team is to have the best shooting night of your lives and then pray. Well, for 3 quarters, Serbia were having the best shooting night of their lives, shooting, you guessed it, 50% from 3. That's when things took a turn for the worse, because for anyone who's watched basketball, at some point your team will have a slump. We all know the most famous shooting slump ever was the Houston Rockets missing 27 straight threes. Sorry if you're a Rockets fan watching, that was an unnecessary stray, but it came to mind. Well, during this game, Team USA's shooting slump came in the first quarter. Luckily for them, there was a guy called Steph Curry who bailed them out in the biggest way possible. For Serbia, that slump came at the worst possible time, because after shooting 50% from 3 for 3 quarters, they went 0 of 9 in the final quarter. And the consistency of shot making from Team USA every single game is unlike anything we have ever seen and probably will ever see in basketball history, because this was the first game they scored under 100 points all Olympics, recording more 100 points than every other team combined. But even in a game where they quote-unquote struggled, they still shot 57% from the field and 50% from 3. It was Serbia's ability to not turn the ball over and crash the offensive glass which kept them in the lead for so long. But when those offensive rebounds and 3-pointers dried up, Team USA just found another gear. And when you have Steph Curry, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, and Joel Embiid on the floor, when those guys are all hitting shots at the same time, what are you supposed to do? Genuinely, how are you supposed to stop that? Because just take Kevin Durant, for example, who was pretty much anonymous for the first 3 quarters. But when it mattered most, with the game there to be won, he had the ball in his hands out top and hit a picture-perfect KD jump shot to seal it. And despite how well Steph, Bron, and Embiid were playing, none of those guys were demanding the ball from KD. They knew they could trust the greatest Olympic scorer in the nation's history to help close things out. out, and he did just that. And you know it's a great game when after it, Kevin Durant says this, and that's exactly what this game was. It was one of the best basketball games ever. Not only did you have superstars on both sides of the floor, but every single one of them delivered. Jokic recording 17 points and 11 assists, trying to will his team to victory with the help from Bogdan Bogdanovic, who plays like a superstar with his national team. Joel Embiid having his best game of the tournament at the right time. And then of course, the one constant for Team USA. The one player who has delivered practically every single game, not just of the Olympics, but even in the exhibition games to help USA stay unbeaten. Because for most countries, exhibition matches mean nothing. For Team USA, every single time they step on the floor, they have the pressure of the entire basketball world to win, which we saw when they came close to losing against South Sudan and Germany. But like he did in those games, LeBron delivered in this one as well, recording a 16-point triple-double on over 60% from the field. And we need to stop questioning when this will end, because it'll end when LeBron James decides it'll end. Father Time was watching on the sidelines, because he's no longer competing with LeBron. LeBron is just competing with himself. Well, that's not entirely true, because it seems like the two guys he's competing with for the top spot on Team USA are Stephen Curry and Kevin Durant, the same guys he's been competing with for over a decade. In fact, it was Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, and LeBron James who scored the last 13 points for Team USA down the stretch of the game. Should we just pencil them in for 2028? Because I know there's a lot of great talent from America right now, and still to be drafted like Cooper Flagg, who actually dominated certain scrimmages against Team USA as a 17-year-old, but I'm not sure I'd feel comfortable watching a Team USA without one of, or all three of KD, LeBron, and Steph. Because every exhibition game and Olympic game, one of these guys has stepped up in a big way when it's mattered most. I guess this is what it felt like watching MJ, Magic, and Bird. But for these guys to be doing it when they're all closer to 40 than 30, I have no words. And for the final game of this tournament, you couldn't have scripted a better game. Because Team USA won't just be facing a talented team, they will be facing an entire nation. The host nation of these Olympics, France, who are of course led by Victor Wembanyama, the future of the NBA versus the past and present of the NBA. And although Wemby has struggled these last couple of games, he's still one of the best players at this tournament. And just like we saw with Steph Curry breaking out of a slump at the right time, don't count out the possibility of Wemby catching fire in the gold medal